If relationships are the real currency in life, if referrals are the lifeblood of business, how do we, the entrepreneurs, the small business owners, compete in this ever-changing, fast-paced world? How do we become more so we can attract more? My name is Curtis Lewsey and I'm your host. Those are the questions, and in this podcast, we will reveal the secrets. Welcome everybody to another episode of Referral Secrets. Super excited about this one here with Jonas Cain. He's the creator and the owner of #Positivity. He wrote the book. He's an author of Are You Positive? Rethinking Positive Thinking. And we're going to cover some awesome stuff today. So I think that you probably should grab a piece of paper and a pen and take some notes here. He speaks all over the place on this, teaches teams and organizations as well as individuals. And we're going to cover the 3 pillars of positivity, 5 levels of happiness, and 7 questions for initiating change. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you and welcome, brother.
It's a joy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Curtis.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, before we dive into that, do you mind sharing your story and what led you down this path?
Yes, it has been a long and winding road, as the song goes. I never thought I would be here at this point, because when I go back to like my childhood and what my hopes and dreams were then, I had no idea I would be doing this. So when I was a kid, I was into magic. I wanted to be a magician. And I, in a way, I kind of feel like I still am a magician, but I'm just facilitating a different kind of magic. Instead of using magic as entertainment to make people go, ha ha, I'm using magic to transform people's lives and go, aha.
Oh, I love it. So tell me a little more about your childhood then. You were saying, what kind of goals and dreams, other than you were a musician, and then there must have been some kind of defining moment in there that says, this is the path I got to take.
There absolutely was. And really it was, magic was my first part-time job in high school, was doing magic shows for various, the local events, parties and festivals and so forth, company, banquets and those sort of things. And I just never stopped playing with magic. That was my first, as an entrepreneur, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I've worked for other people off and on, but really, serving others, that's just, it's in my blood. So that's what I did for a number of years. And then you're right, there was a defining moment. And it was 13, almost 14 years ago now. In 2007, I was engaged to be married to, oh my goodness, the woman of my dreams, the woman I had been in love with for 8 years. I mean, you've been in love, right, Curtis?
Yep, absolutely.
So you know what it's like. Mm-hmm. It's its own kind of magic. And then a week after we got engaged to be married, just out of the blue, without any warning, Stephanie died.
Oh no.
And that, talk about, defining moment. All of the magic in my life literally disappeared. I was no longer interested in magic. I was no longer interested in entertaining people because I didn't even want to live anymore. And I didn't think I was going to live because, when you're in that sort of state, when you're, this height of being, in love, this wild feeling, and then all of a sudden the complete opposite, this crushing feeling, talk about heavy disappointments. And I thought I was going to die from a broken heart. But Curtis, I didn't die. And after 3 years of depression and grief and substance abuse, I got into some pretty bad stuff, suicidal tendencies, because I just didn't want to be around anymore. But after 3 years of that, I had, another defining moment, another aha moment. And it was that I'm still alive. I don't know why. Life isn't what I thought it was. I'm no longer who I used to be. I mean, it's like, the way I defined it then, it was kind of like falling off the top of a building and splattering onto the ground. You don't get up from that. So I was not the person that I was before, but that didn't mean I couldn't be someone new. That didn't mean I couldn't rise from the ashes and dust myself off and figure out, well, who is Joe? Talk about defining moments and transformation. I literally changed my name in honor of that time in my life. So I was born Jonas Toutant, and I became to honor that time in my life, I became Jonas Cain. And I was already using Jonas Cain often, as like a stage name. So it wasn't that big of a leap, but to literally go through that change, it's kind of like, going back to the biblical stories, Abram became Abraham when he had his covenant with God. Saul became Paul. So for me, it was a way to honor that time in my life, and my life has been abundantly transformed ever since.
Wow. Unbelievable. So you got out of this, you picked yourself up, and then what was it? You wanted to then teach and help people. You put together systems to help people from whatever stage they are in their life to be more positive. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I just got goosebumps, just thinking about it. So I became fascinated, and I use that word very deliberately. I became fascinated. I think of myself as a facilitator of fascination, because that actually goes back to one of the 3 pillars of positivity. In fascination falls under the mindset pillar. There's a lot of things that go into the mindset pillar, but fascination, instead of getting frustrated with our problems and in complaining about things without being interested in doing anything about them, we become fascinated. We explore the different possibilities, and we believe in our own, self-efficacy. We have confidence that we can learn new things and gain new skills, and that we have some control over our lives, which is so true. There was a study a number of years ago that found that 50% of our lives, and some people might find this discouraging, Curtis, but I think this is kind of, for me, mindset, it's encouraging. 50% of our lives out of our control. We have no control over, because it's our DNA, it's our heredity, it's who we can't control who our ancestors are. 50% of our lives is completely out of our control. It's off our backs. We don't have to worry about it. That's why I think it's encouraging. Some people who like to control things, though, they might freak out about that. Shift in perspective. But then 10% of our lives, we do have some influence over. And it's our experiences, it's where we live, it's who our friends are, it's what job we have. Now, we have some influence over these things. Certainly, I was born and raised in Massachusetts. Certainly, it might be harder for me to be best friends with someone living in, I don't know, Japan. Well, I suppose in today's electronic age, it is much more likely, that I could be friends with someone across the world. But certainly we do, especially as we get older and we have agency, and we can choose who we interact with. So that's the things that happen to us. Now, the remaining 40%, and this is the most encouraging part of all. Do you know what it is? Any guesses?
Give it to me. What do you got?
It's our choices. It's how we choose to respond to our heredity and DNA. It's how we choose to respond to that thing that our friend just said to us that makes us want to punch them in the mouth.
10% influence, you have influence over, and then 40% are choices.
It's complete control over our choices. Now, that said, I've been doing some more studies, and this is all just to get back to your original question.
I love this fascination part too. Like, that's one of the pillars you said.
Yeah, so that's under the mindset pillar. Yeah, this fascination. Instead of there's a place for frustration, there's a place for grief, there's even a place for anger in the continuum that is life. However, if we want to experience positivity, and if we want to move beyond just complaining and festering in a pity party, if we want to move beyond that, well, then we can choose, instead of frustration, we can choose fascination and explore the possibilities that are available to us.
Love that. That is amazing. So tell me more about the 40% with the choices. You are going to go down that a little bit more.
Yeah, so that is oh, there's so many paths to go down here. So I was having a conversation with someone recently online, talking about how the development of our skills, the development of our talents, there's a difference between skills and talent. Talent you might be born with, skills you can learn, but you can be, I'm thinking of someone who is completely naturally talented in something, but they don't practice it, they don't hone it. And yet someone who might not be naturally talented at something, through dedication and practice and development, they might even surpass someone with natural talent. But the idea is that honing our skills, honing our craft, really honing in, and it doesn't have to be our talents. It could be the things that surround that as well. There was a fantastic book, High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. Have you read this?
Yes.
Phenomenal. My favorite part of the whole thing, and I think this is the only thing that I actually remember from the book, but it's this idea that the way that he described it was that a Super Bowl winning quarterback doesn't just know how to throw a ball. Yes, that's important, but they also have to master things that touch that talent. They have to master nutrition, mental toughness. They have to master contract negotiation, brand building, all these things that have nothing to do with just throwing a ball, but everything to do with winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it's this idea of discovering one of course what you're excited about, what gets you up every day, which is the second pillar. It's purpose.
The mindset is the first pillar and purpose is the second.
Yeah, so something to aim for, something that gets you excited.
Yeah.
So mindset, purpose. So something that really gets you excited, that is also aligned in some way with it could be a talent, it could be a skill, it could be a talent that you're very skillful at. The idea is then to explore all the different things that surround that skill or that talent. And the reason that I even bring this up with choices, because expertise, developed talents and skills, craftsmanship, virtuosity, there's a lot of freedom in that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching old clips of the Duke Ellington Orchestra on YouTube lately. I love watching masters in their craft, whatever it is. And I'm a big jazz buff anyway. I'm a saxophonist as well. So I grew up listening to that music just because it's music that I enjoyed, but I never actually watched them. I never even knew what these people looked like. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, let's check out some Duke Ellington, and just being able to see them perform. It's a different experience than just listening, because you don't really know what they're doing to create this music, but watching them, they are virtuosos. They are masters of their craft. There's so much freedom. Duke just saunters up to the piano and just plays. I just got goosebumps again. There's so much freedom. You have freedom to your ability, the number of choices that are available to you grow exponentially when you focus in and you hone in and become very skilled and not just talented, and you become really really dedicated to something that excites you and something that you're really good at. There's so much freedom in there.
So we have mindset and we have purpose, which is amazing. And you didn't touch too much on purpose, but obviously it's something that makes you feel alive, something you wake up for. And I think that is super important. And then what's the third?
And this is okay. So the third one, you already know what it is. Even though you don't know what these three pillars are, I know you know what it is, because in the email that I got from your team at the very bottom, there was a little quote. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, he's got it. It's true wealth is found in relationships. Mm-hmm. Treat yours like gold and you will never spend a day in poverty. The third pillar of positivity is relationships. It's the people who we surround ourselves with. A lot of people, they just sort of fall into relationships by default, which there's certainly a place for that. It's the people you grew up with when you were kids. It's the family. But as our choices increase, we are free to consciously and mindfully choose the relationships that we invest in. It might be the people that we decide that we want to help them out. It's people who, it's our peers. It's the mentors who speak value into our lives. It's the people that we choose to support. Fostering these relations, it goes back to another one of my favorite quotes, comes from It's a Wonderful Life. And I'll have to paraphrase. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was, no man is poor who has friends, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, or is it no man is a failure who has friends? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That is so true. And this is, so to go back to the original question, the defining moment, so I went through that time of being just in utter despair. Literally, I was at rock bottom and I had started digging. But then I don't even know exactly what I think it was just an accumulation of several experiences. It was in the end of 2009, beginning, actually, I do know a big factor in this. So at the end of 2009, I decided that something had to give. And I was either going to die trying or I was going to work through this. So I literally got rid of all of my things, like carloads to the Goodwill, just giving things away to my friends. Now, of course, when people do that, oftentimes they think, oh, he's going to be checking out soon, but no, my plan was get rid of everything. And then I was going to go on a bicycle ride from my home state of Massachusetts across the country, 3,000 miles to California. That was my plan. And people thought I was crazy. And maybe it wasn't the best plan, but I didn't think I was crazy. I was like, everything that I'm doing right now isn't working. I need to try something drastically different. I need to do something different. And it wasn't about California. I didn't care about, going to California. It was, I needed time away, instead of focusing. I couldn't take care of myself while also supporting myself. So, it's kind of like the sad clown. I was still doing magic shows. I would be, contemplating suicide, 1 minute, and then the next minute I'd be doing a magic show for people, so I couldn't take care of myself while supporting myself. So I just needed time away to think, to be alone with my thoughts and not have other responsibilities. And I thought 3,000 miles on a bicycle will take care of that. Now, that said, I didn't make it to California, Curtis. I made it as far as Connecticut, which was only about 40 miles from where I started. So, but when I did come back, I decided, here's the thing. I left, it was November when I left. Terrible time to start a cross-country bicycle ride from New England. So it started to rain. I was cold. I was like, I don't want to sleep in I had a tent with me. I don't want to sleep in a tent. So I called up a friend of mine and I said, Matthew, I want to come back. But, here's the thing. I had given away all my things, sold my car, got rid of my apartment. I had nothing to come back to. And I really liked that. I liked that idea of a clean slate. Everything was wiped clean and I could just come back and God bless my friend Matthew and his dad, Tom. I spent 6 months sleeping on their den floor. And they actually had a whole bedroom, with a bed that I could have slept in. I was like, no, I've been sleeping in a bed my whole life. This is where it's gotten me. I'm going to try something different. I'm just going to sleep on the floor. So for 6 months, I slept on the floor. I helped out with a family. The dad, Tom, owned a dry cleaning company. I would help out doing deliveries and pickups and just doing different things. And after that 6 months, I came out of that time. I wrote a book, my first book, which is It Just Happened the Other Day, A True Story.
Just happened the other day. Wow.
And this was a book that Stephanie, my fiance, and I had decided we were going to write together. it was just going to be about all of our adventures together. Because at any time she told a story, she would say, "Oh, it just happened the other day," even if it was months or years ago. And whenever I tell a joke, I often say, "Oh, it's a true story. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? This is a true story." And then I'll tell a joke. So we were going to call it, "It Just Happened the Other Day," a true story. She ended up dying before we could even start it. But during that 6-month time, I had all this time now. So I wrote it out. And you know what was amazing about this, Curtis? Writing it was, there were some difficult moments, because then you start getting to a certain point in the story and you know what's coming, and you start reliving experiences. And for me, I was able to finally process these things, being sober of mind as well, so I'd stopped drinking during that time. I was able to just really sit with it and process it. And getting to the very end of the book, I was able to close it, and I was done.
Therapeutic.
So therapeutic. So that's a defining moment. The bicycle ride.
And so book. You have the pillars. So at what point did you say, what are the different 5 levels of happiness, if you don't mind sharing the 5 levels?
Yeah. So the first level isn't even a level. It's like the ground floor. So this is kind of like, if we wanted to think of the ground floor as a level, then maybe it's the 6 levels. But I think of this, just ground floor is acceptance.
Okay.
Acceptance. We could choose to get mad. We could choose to get glad. We can try and bang our heads against the wall, but there's things that we just can't control. So we just have to accept it. Now, from acceptance, we have a choice to move up or down this sort of spectrum of happiness. And this is where, talking about the 3 pillars of positivity, the 5 levels, they all interact with each other. I sort of think about the 5 levels of happiness as sort of like stages that we progress through a process of overcoming challenges or overcoming difficulties. So when I came, sort of writing this book was sort of me accepting what had happened, so I was at that ground floor. And then I became, and here's that word again, I became fascinated, which is related to the mindset pillar, but it's also the first level of happiness, fascination. I became fascinated about how people manage change and initiate change themselves, because certainly, I went through a huge change. That was a heavy change. Some people it might just be, "Oh, my coffee's cold now." There's change constantly happening. It might be a change of like, "Oh, I just lost my job," or, "Oh, I just, my wife just left me," or, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of changes that we go through. How do we manage those changes so that instead of experiencing despair, which is the last level of unhappiness, so instead experience joy, which is the highest level of happiness? How do we do that? I became fascinated by that. So I started doing research. I started reading. I started doing a lot of writing. And this was where another book came out. Oh, here it is. So it wasn't long after writing It Just Happened the Other Day, a true story, I wrote Journey of Discovery, Awaken Your Inner Power.
Nice.
And it's sort of like, this was like stories, this was poignant stories. This is sort of like taking out the lessons that were learned from it. And, this was my first good faith effort to do this. I wrote this specifically with teenagers in mind, young adults. And I wrote this book, and still every year for the past 10 years now, I facilitate a workshop on this material. It's evolved over the years, but I still use those core principles from that book. The reason I'm so passionate specifically about young adults, young professionals, is schools kind of gloss over this kind of stuff. They teach the academics because they have to, and God bless them, it's important, right? But they largely leave, the social emotional skills to chance. So, but they're going to be adults soon, or they are adults, and they don't have this stuff. So I find that even though I do a lot of work with young people, I find myself also working with a lot of older professionals, because here's the thing, they never got it either. so they're just as hungry, they're just as thirsty for this as well. And there could be a lot of reasons for why schools don't teach this stuff. They might think their parents are going to teach it to them, but if their parents never learned it, they're not going to teach it to them. So again, I just became fascinated about understanding how people manage change. And then once we're fascinated and we explore the possibilities, that's when we start moving up into the next level of happiness, which is inspiration. So we have this world of possibilities that we're fascinated by. Instead of frustrated by them, and complaining, we're fascinated by them. We're checking out all these different possibilities, but then we start noticing patterns. We're like, oh, I'm interested in that. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I wonder how those connect. And you start gaining, meaningful goals. Now this starts to move into the purpose pillar as well, and you start to see how these things connect, and you start to get excited about them. So inspiration is about developing goals, or developing intentions, getting excited about something. And once you're excited about something, some people, they can get stuck there. It's highly, I have friends who have gotten stuck there before. I've been stuck there before. It's a great place to be inspired, at least it's on the spectrum of happiness, right? But unless we move into the third level, then nothing's going to happen. And that third level is important. And this is where we get motivated. This is motivation. Now I know there's, looking at the specific definitions of inspiration and motivation in the dictionaries and what other people talk about them, they sometimes equate them to be similar. Some might have them in reverse, but in this model, inspiration comes before motivation. It's sort of like, it's gaining this, once you're inspired, you gain intrinsic motivation to accomplish something.
Yes. Wow. I love it. That's amazing. And, it's like a couple of parallels for what you're talking about. Just I remember being at a Tony Robbins seminar, and he talked about how he needed drastic change, and he put a Walkman and put the headphones on, and he just ran on the beach in California. He was 40 pounds overweight. And it's like, my life's got to change now. And like, so I kind of equate that to you, like, don't want to do that bike ride. You got rid of things and you said, this is my moment. I got to do a drastic change. Boom, came back. And that's when you were inspired. You accepted the fact that you needed a change, and something inspired you to change, just like Tony Robbins did, and then motivated to get out the door and go. So I feel like everybody that's had some kind of awakening has gone through this. This is really kind of cool. And so tell me, what is the second before we get to joy?
Oh yeah. So once we were inspired and we're motivated, and those are perfect parallels, absolutely. So once we get to motivation and we start actually applying these principles in these practices, and we start applying, doing the work. We've gotten excited about the work. We've planned our work because now we have this guiding light. I also think of it, I use the metaphor of a sailboat. Now I've only been sailing once. And the guy who actually owned the boat did all the sailing. I just sat there and watched. But I like to use this metaphor of a sailboat. The mindset in fascination, in this case, also it's it's the boat itself. Having a positive mindset, having this fascinated mindset, it keeps us afloat. It keeps us from drowning. And then moving into inspiration and motivation, but also moving into the second pillar of positivity, of purpose, that provides, it's like the rudder, or maybe it's the sail that you position in just the right way, right? So that provides the direction. But then the last part, the last pillar, of course, is relationships, which provides the winds for our sail. In the case with the 5 levels of happiness, once we start applying these things, of course, we can never really achieve anything of huge significance all by ourselves. Certainly we can get started and have some small wins along the way, but really it takes other people. As you know, I have this background in magic, and there's this joke that says, someone asked the mirror, how is the magic done? And the mirror said, it's all done with people. It kind of goes along the way of when someone asks, how did the trick be, how's the magic done? Oh, it's all done with mirrors. But the mirror says, no, it's all done with people. And that is so true. It's all done with people. So we're applying all these things, we're doing all these things, and we start having successes along the way. Certainly there's going to be setbacks. Certainly there's going to be things that we didn't plan for. However, once we do begin and we start having these small successes, those are those positive affirmations that let us know that we're on the right track. And that's that 4th level is positive affirmation. And I specify positive affirmation because if we go backwards to the so where there's fascination for happiness, for unhappiness, it's frustration. Whereas there's inspiration, there's confusion. Whereas there's motivation, there's discouragement. But so there's also these levels of unhappiness. And then the 4th level of unhappiness is negative affirmation. It's kind of like, you've been complaining and, you have these people who you like to surround yourself with, they provide you, sympathy, and they're like, yeah, that sucks. Sort of these pity parties you receive. Yeah, I'm right to be angry. I'm right to be discouraged. You're right. I shouldn't do anything because the world is out to get me. So there's positive affirmations, and there's also negative affirmations. And then, once we, just stay the course. Certainly there's going to be bumps along the way, and there's going to be some setbacks, and you might have to move back into the inspirations phase, from time to time as you manage different things that come up. I mean, let's, just look at the pandemic. People have really had to change their whole models of the way they manage things and do things. So once we keep going, though, that's when we start to experience the true, deep-seated, the level of happiness that is hard for anyone to take it away from you. I call it being the who's down in Whoville, even after the Grinch stole Christmas. It's joy.
Yeah.
It is joy. It's hard won. It is hard work. It's hard work being happy, but it beats the alternative.
Yeah. Wow. It just kind of like made me think having an organization, and then imagine the companies that you talk to and the organizations that you lead, facilitate, a workshop, if you will. I could just imagine seeing like people saying, oh my gosh, he's talking about me, or, oh geez, that's Sarah. Oh my gosh. And then I could see like an awakening happening with people on teams and stuff. So do you facilitate like virtual as well as in person? And
yeah, so that's something that I've shifted to. It was back in the summer of last year, so summer of 2019. I had no idea pandemic was going to be coming, but I started to look for, talk about positive affirmations. I knew that, okay, people like this, people are really enjoying this. So what's next? So for example, I just binged The Queen's Gambit the other day, and it's on one of my down days. I just powered through the whole thing, and my favorite part from the whole series, it's the only thing I really remember. I always take away this one thing. That's why I watched this, or that's why I read this book. It was, have you seen this film or this? Okay. Well, this chess master is playing this young Russian kid who's also, a prodigy, and she ends up beating him. But she says to him, or he says to her, he says, in 3 years, I'm going to be a world champion. I'm going to be the world champion. And I think he was like 13 or something at the time. And she said, oh, that's great. I believe you will. I'm paraphrasing here. But then she says, what are you going to do after that? What are you going to do next? And he didn't understand the question. He was so focused on that second pillar of this purpose. He was so motivated by that purpose. But oh my goodness, you get everything you've ever wanted at 16. Well, what's next? What else is going to be guiding your life? So I got to that point in 2019. I was thinking, okay, this is going great. Doing these workshops, going, flying around the country, and I get to experience all of these fascinating things. But I thought, well, what's next? I'm just Jonas. How can I make this sustainable? So I thought, I'll create online courses, and I'll do virtual workshops. So even a part of my motivating factor here, part of the thing that really drives me, Curtis, is I think a lot about death. And it used to be that I would think about death because I wanted to die. But now I think about death because I know I have so much work to do, or so much work that I want to do before I die. So I have this profound sense of urgency to get the stuff out there, to talk to as many people as I can, to help as many people as I can. So I thought, this would be perfect. I get all these courses created, I get all this stuff online, and then if I happen to die by accident, who knows? It could be a blood clot. I could get hit by a bus. Actually, a couple months ago, I came inches away from getting hit by a car. I was out on my daily run. Inches. I literally had to leap out of the way. I give them the benefit of the doubt that they just weren't paying attention. But that could have been the end of Jonas Cain. So, that was for me. Yes, I need a profound sense of urgency here to get this stuff out there. So 2019, I decided, well, I don't know how to make online courses. So I started a graduate program at Purdue University, getting my master's in learning design and technology, literally learning how to create a curriculum, put it online, create online courses. And within months, I started creating these courses and putting them out in the world. Little did I know that come March, that is a requirement. I had all these clients who, they were like, no, we're canceling the workshop, because they're closed too now. But then once they started to open back up, I was thankful that I had done the work before I needed to be ready for them.
Wow.
So I'm just a few months away from graduating from the program. So that's kept me busy throughout the pandemic as well.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, in wrapping up, because this is some great stuff, and I imagine we can all find this in your book. Are you positive that book?
Yeah.
You have the pillars and the purpose and the pillars and the happiness
I
levels.
knock everything over. So actually, no. So this book, it touches on those things, but Are You Positive outlines an 8-step process for thinking, being, and staying positive. Now, it does touch on those, but I'm in the process of writing the next book, which really it goes into the stages of change, and so be on the lookout within the next year. In the meantime, though, if you want to check out my blog, I'm constantly writing on this. Also my vlog, I'm constantly creating videos on this. So if you go to my website, #positivity.com, that's the word #positivity.com, you can check out, I have a slew of free resources there, as well as a page where you can check out all the books that are available.
Do you mind before we wrap up, just you don't have to go in depth, but just at least the questions, the 7 questions for initiating change?
Yes, these are important, and these are ones that when I'm just talking to a client for the first time, these are the questions that I ask them, and it's a combination of my research on change and happiness and positivity, but also just, these are the questions that I need answered in order to know how can I help. So here are the questions, and I'll do them in order. The first one is the mission question. Who are you? What's your role? What's your inner purpose? And this goes back to the difference between outer purpose and inner purpose. When we're thinking about just someone not in an organization, but just thinking, what's my life's purpose? For me, it's helping people. It's helping to make people smile, helping people to realize that they matter and people are thinking about them. But when thinking about someone at an organization, that might be, what's their job title? What role do they fulfill? The next question is the desire question. What do you want to do? In other words, what's your plan for fulfilling that mission that you have? And this goes to the outer purpose. The third question is the value question. Why is this important? And this goes back also to the motivation level. Why is this important? Are you intrinsically motivated by this because it's something that really matters to you, or are you externally motivated by it just because the fame and fortune you're going to get because of it, or because maybe someone is threatening you if you don't follow through? So just really understanding, why is this important? The fourth one is the ability question. So the question is, what can you do? And this speaks to your current behaviors and what you're currently capable of. And this is an important question too, because it also can highlight a gap in ability. Maybe you know what you want to do, but maybe you don't have the right training, or you don't have the right skills, or you don't have the right opportunities. So it might even mean doing a shift in someone's role within an organization. The next one is the responsibility question. What must you do? And what I like about this question, Curtis, is that it really highlights that we will never be required to do something if we're not capable of it. So asking this responsibility question can help us identify our capabilities, but it also puts in some constraints. It's like, these are the things I want to do, but these are the things that I'm responsible for. Now, it might mean you just have to work around those responsibilities, or it might mean doing the work to phase out those responsibilities, delegating them to other people. The next one is the commitment question. It's all about, what will you do? And a huge part of this is your attitude. If you don't enjoy something, if something just is a drain to do, you're not going to commit to it. So it's one thing to know what you want to do, know what you're capable of, know what you must do. But if someone keeps having to be on top of you to get it done, well, clearly there needs to be a change here. The final question, which is one that I just recently added. So before it was just 6 questions, but I just recently added this one, and I had an aha moment. I realized, why hadn't I been asking this question all along? It's the requirement question. What do you need? What do you need? Maybe it's support. Maybe maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's a peer. Maybe it's a job aid. Maybe you need to have your coffee every morning. What do you need in order to be successful? Because it's one thing to know what you want to do, be able to do it, be willing to do it, but if you don't have the support in place, the best intentions aren't going to make it happen. So
very true. That's why people have coaches or accountability. And very good. Oh, wow. That's really, really great. Thank you so much. There was so much valuable content here, and I can't wait to be able to get this produced and out there to the world. So I want to thank you once again for sharing all of your wisdom. And this is probably one of the most important conversations you can ever have, because it inspires and everything. I mean, we talk about in Referral Secrets that in order to, you don't just get a referral, you earn referrals by who you are and how you show up in people's lives. And so being a better version of yourself and being more positive is what you attract. And so this is right up the alley of everybody in our audience. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing.
It is an absolute joy. Thank you for this opportunity to share these good things with your people.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You as well, Curtis. Thank you.
Hey there, it's Curtis again. If you have not downloaded the 7 most powerful referral secrets, hop on over to referralsecrets.com. It's free. That's simply referralsecrets.com. Also, we give away prizes every week to our subscribers. So make sure you click the subscribe button. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Referral Secrets.